Hi, this is Mary from OpenHelix with this week's Tip of the Week. Now today I'm going to be describing some features of the PathCase Pathway Database tool, which is a very neat tool, but I'm only going to be able to show you some of the things I want to over in the movie because it's a short movie. Be sure to check out our blog at blog.openhelix.com for more details and links to access the PathCase tool specifically. But let's quickly move over right now to the PathCase tool by clicking on this second tab here. So at the URL for PathCase, that's at Case Western Reserve University, you'll have access to this pathway database system that they've been developing for a number of years now. As you can see, we're on web version 3.0. And this is a terrific tool to interact with pathway data. Now, as you can see, they've got a number of different entry points here that are right on the front page. I'll be clicking the PathCase KEGG one just to introduce you to it, but many of the other ones work in a similar manner, but they contain different data sets. So we'll be looking at the one that features KEGG pathways, but there's also one that contains biopsych pathways. There's one that has sample pathways from the literature. Recently, they've also added biomodels and a metabolomics entry point as well, so be sure to come over and explore the other features of PathCase when you have time. Now, there's a number of standard ways to access other features of PathCase as well. Of course, there's publications. You should check out the literature, their papers. People who've used PathCase are highlighted here in PathCase in the literature. There's also details about the architecture and data model if you're interested in that kind of information. Now, for our purposes, I'm just going to show you quickly how to begin to interact with this web interface. So I'll be clicking the PathCase featuring KEGG Pathways link right from the landing page here to show you that. Now, there's a number of different ways to interact with the data here at this point. You could access this pull-down menu and go from different entry points here. You can browse around from pathways, processes, and organisms, and the molecular entities as well. For example, if you want to perform a gene search, or you could look around at the genes. Now, there's searchable options as well. You can do a typical keyword kind of search. They have some built-in queries that are provided, which are very helpful. And there's also an advanced query interface. So if you want to perform more complex and customized queries, you can access that feature. I won't have time to show that today. You also have access to the ontology viewer and the BioPax visualizer as well. But what I'm going to do is just show you a sample way to browse the pathways. I'm going to click Browse Pathways here. And what I would do if I had more time was show you how it loads up. But I'm just going to show you an example of one that's already loaded to save us a little bit of time. But as you can see here, over on the left side, you can navigate. You can browse through all of the pathways that are available here. As you'll recognize many of them from the KEGG database if you've used KEGG before. You can search databases for those that contain different keywords as well. So you could search from this point. I'm just going to show you what would happen if you clicked alanine and aspartate metabolism, the very first one, just for our example today. But I have that already loaded up, so you don't have to watch while that takes its time to load. And here I'll show you the pathway that I've highlighted. So what you'll find here is access to an interactive pathway here with all the features that you might have seen at KEGG, but here you can interact with them in a different way than you could at the KEGG database. Now I'll zoom in just to give you a closer look at that. So here you'll have access to the detailed information. You have EC numbers and you have access to the different aspects of these there we go. Of these different objects that are on this database. You can interact with them. You can move them around. You could look at them in a number of different ways. I'm going to go back to Fit right now just to show you the whole overview. But you also have other features as well. For example, if I click this Genes option here in the navigation, this shows you where all of the genes, in this case for human, are located in the genome that are involved in this pathway. Now if I just click chromosome 11 here, what it will show me is it will highlight the genes that are specifically in chromosome 11, and those will be highlighted as well over in the pathway diagram. But you could click these gene links and you can go and learn more about these genes and the pathways that they're involved in by clicking on this within the PathCase system. Now, there's also an option down below. These would be highlighted here, where you can look at the process, the EC numbers, and more details about that, and that's linkable as well. And there's more details as well. So I don't have time to load up all of these different features because there's just so much information over here at PathCase. Let me turn off the genes one. Let me also mention that you could turn on or turn off different organisms if you wanted to know more about the specific features that were involved in different organisms, but I'll close that as well. But let me go back to Fit, and I just wanted to highlight this again, the features here that you have in PathCase to interact with this data in a much different way than you might have if you've ever used the KEGG data elsewhere. So check out PathCase for pathway data.